This project's so important for people to come out and, more importantly, for us to really make a visible impact in our community.
On your side, with ways to make a difference where you live. This is the 5 on Your Side Building Better Neighborhoods Special.
Welcome to the 5 on Your Side Building Better Neighborhoods Special. I'm Danita Harris. In the next hour, we hope to inspire you to take action in your own community to improve your neighborhood. We started our Building Better Neighborhoods initiative just over a year ago, and this map behind me shows you the neighborhoods where News Channel 5 worked to make a difference. Our goal during the next hour is to educate you on how to get government help to make your neighborhood a safer, cleaner, and a more economically vibrant place to live. Joining me tonight will be my co-anchor Chris Flanagan, 5 on Your Side troubleshooter Joe Paganakis, and News Channel 5's John Kosick. Let's check in first with Chris. He is at the Eastman branch of the Cuyahoga County Library. Chris?
Danita, good evening. Yeah, the library filling up quickly here. We're getting ready for what is expected to be a very lively question and answer session between housing experts. We've got Cleveland City Council members on hand as well. Also members from some suburbs out here to tell us what's going on in their community as well. It's not just a problem in Cleveland, but it's really all over Northeast Ohio. And we also have residents here from neighborhoods asking all these experts questions to what they can do to improve their neighborhood. So it should be a great Q&A session for the next hour here at the library. For now, let's go over to Lincoln West High School and our colleague Joe Paganakis.
Hey there, Chris. Again, we're at Lincoln West, and the students have been painting here all afternoon, all evening. Right now, they're here in the cafeteria here. 4 dozen students, paint provided by Sherwin-Williams, and they have been working extremely hard as part of our Building Better Neighborhoods live special. We're going to be showing you their progress throughout the evening. They've done an outstanding job, but you know, that's not all that's going on here at Lincoln West. We also have another complete live audience where residents here from this community can talk to key leaders and ask them questions about how they can improve their neighborhood and make it a better place to be. But once again, the students here live at the cafeteria, they've been painting for more than 7 hours. This is a great example of the type of thing we want to spark with our Building Better Neighborhoods initiative. Now let's go over to my colleague John Kosick, who's hosting a live web chat right now on NewsNet5.com.
Thank you much, Joe. This is an opportunity for you at home to not just watch, but participate. We've got the web chat going on NewsNet5.com. If you have questions throughout this program, and I'm sure you will, this is your chance to talk to the folks who know most what's going on. We got Frank Ford, Senior Vice President of Neighborhood Progress Incorporated, joining us now to help you navigate through the uncertain waters of foreclosure and its impact on our community. I got to tell you, I live in an inner-ring suburbs. This affects me, affects all of us. I was picking Frank's brain for the last 15 minutes. This is your opportunity. Log on to NewsNet5.com. Fire off your questions in a couple of minutes. We'll come back. We'll let you know what some of you are asking. Danita?
All right, thanks, guys. As this map shows, we've done stories in almost 40 different neighborhoods and target cleanup in 5 of those neighborhoods. Our efforts included dozens and dozens of volunteers, plus many different agencies and businesses coming together to help. Joe Paganakis looks back at the 5 key neighborhoods where we worked.
August 17th, 100 volunteers were out in force on East 116th Street in Cleveland, getting their hands dirty.
From painting and scraping paint to repainting porches and cutting down huge trees.
This is a beautiful, beautiful place, a beautiful area, and the spirit of neighborhood really lies in our ability to work together.
Volunteers from Rebuilding Together helped everyone.
Been here 19 years. That's awesome. 19 years and just kind of waited for it.
Then it's on to Paynesville to help build a park on September 21st. 87-year-old Howard McCain helped build over a dozen picnic tables while others mulched and planted trees and gardens. The Lake Erie baseball team hauled rocks.
Beats the rocks any day, yeah.
The whole area was once an elementary school. When that came down, the city decided to give the land back to the kids of the community.
Seeing this now come together to really be something other than a vacant lot really is encouraging.
From here, we traveled west on September 28th to Elyria. A neighborhood band kept the volunteers moving on Gates Avenue and South Maple Street. Elyria city workers pitched in to help volunteers clean up more than a dozen homes by getting rid of weeds, debris, making porch improvements, and planting a community garden.
I grew up in the house right behind us. We lived here for about 15 years, and to see what the streets become today, you know, it's kind of sad to see all these rundown houses and that, so it's kind of, like I said, personal to come back and give back to the community.
Our efforts sparked Mayor Holly Brenda to create an Office of Volunteer Engagement to give people a way to get involved.
Because we know that if we want to accomplish our goals, especially in this economic climate, that we need everybody's help, and it's really about shared responsibility.
It was called a big day of serving in Akron last month. Some 200 Christian children worked together with adult supervisors to help build better neighborhoods.
It makes a difference in the world.
Feels good in here. Pretty much, just feels good in here.
Don't dip it in like that, just kind of roll it into that.
At Shadyside Park, the job was to paint a 15-year-old gazebo.
What they're doing, it would take, like Kenmore Kiwanis, our group, which is mostly elderly people, to come down, they couldn't do it.
It's a good feeling that I wish we did more of this around the community, and a lot more people joined in, because it's a good thing.
And finally, our latest Building Better Neighborhoods project was on Cleveland's west side October 19th. We watched as 2 vacant homes came down, properties that were havens for drug activity.
Just to see this house go is going to improve the neighborhood a lot. I mean, it was an eyesore for us for so many years, you know, and just to see it go, I mean, it's a relief for me.
And that's not all that happened on West 30th Street. Nearby, Lincoln West High School students pitched in to volunteer in the area.
It's very special. I mean, we go to school here every day. Though some of us don't live on this street, this is still our community. We see this every day. You know, we take pride in where we come from.
We work in Cleveland, and, you know, Cleveland is our home, and, you know, to give back to the community for the kids and children is our attribute. I mean, it's priceless.
It's been a few months since we've been back to some of those neighborhoods. So, did our work pay off? You'll see throughout the next hour as we stop in each of the neighborhoods where News Channel 5 helped organize volunteers to spruce up the block. Let's start with our first neighborhood cleanup, East 116th Street and Ashbury in Cleveland. Here's News Channel 5's Leon Bibb.
The street looks neat. A few months ago, East 116th Street and Ashbury Avenue in Cleveland's East Side Glenville area was the first of News Channel 5's Building Better Neighborhoods projects. News Channel 5 volunteers and others moved along the street, sprucing up, cutting down, giving special touches. Angela McShann saw it all.
And for them to come around and just fix up like the little things that were broken, like the stairs, or fix a couple of tiles, that meant the world to that made them very happy.
Angela McShann and her family live in this house where shrubs and plants were donated. What happened here weeks ago touched her heart.
And all of this, you can continue to keep it going.
Yes, I can, and I will do that.
I worked on this street in our Building Better Neighborhoods project. Not only that, I grew up not too very far from where we are. My roots run deep in this neighborhood. So too do the roots of those who live here now. Angela McShann will tell you that our Building Better Neighborhoods project inspired the entire community. On East 116th Street at Ashbury Avenue, volunteers brought the hard work and also caring and inspiration. They knew and know Building Better Neighborhoods starts street by street. Leon Bibb, News Channel 5.
Now let's go back to my co-anchor Chris Flanagan. We have experts and citizens talking together about improving their neighborhoods.
And Danita, this is a terrific panel, a panel of experts out here. Let's introduce to them right now who they are. Mike Polensek, Cleveland City Councilman here tonight. Abraham Westcott from Akron. He's Akron's Development Manager. Ian Andrews from Lakewood Alive. And Ron Traub. He is Mentor's Economic Director. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. Ron, let's start with you in Mentor. You know, we hear so much of this housing crisis here in the city of Cleveland, but what about in the suburbs? What about Mentor? What are you seeing there?
In terms of housing abandonment or foreclosure, the problem is very fortunately certainly not as severe as the inner city, if you will, is experiencing. In looking at statistics for the last 3 years, for example, Mentor went from approximately 350 foreclosures in 2010, approximately 300 the following year, and about 246 so far this year. So we're seeing a downward trend in terms of foreclosures.
Okay, terrific. And Ian Andrews from Lakewood. What about in Lakewood? What are we seeing there, and how are you combating this problem?
Sure. Well, as an economic development corporation, I mean, housing is economic development. The strength of the housing market really helps to the strength of the economy. And so what we've been able to do is look at a century. It's a city of century homes, and how do we take them into the next century? And so with the Housing Forward strategy the city has conducted in collaboration with Lakewood Alive and a lot of other partners, we're looking at addressing exterior code conditions on these 1- and 2-family homes. And we've been able to work as a collaborative group to reduce the most severe homes by half, and that's extremely exciting. And so now we're moving forward into our second phase to try to help these folks, particularly low to moderate income individuals, improve their homes.
And Abraham Westcott from Akron. Now, what are we seeing in Akron? What type of problems do you see there?
Typical of all Midwestern cities. We are experiencing a lot of abandoned properties. We do have an aggressive code enforcement, and we also have an aggressive demolition program also. Right now, this year we're going to be looking at about 600 properties that we're going to be demolishing. Next year will be another 600 thanks to the Moving Ohio Forward, our community development block grant money, and our neighborhood stabilization program money. So we're moving forward with moving a lot of these blighted structures out of these neighborhoods so that the people can sometimes use the abandoned properties and also get those properties to these people for productivity.
And Mike, Councilman Polensek, very well documented here in the city of Cleveland. Just how bad of a crisis are we seeing here?
Well, it's a tsunami. We had an economic tsunami come through the city of Cleveland. We have thousands and thousands of abandoned properties in a city with the help of city council and the administration, and our neighborhood development corporations have embarked on a very aggressive project to try to abate these abandoned houses. But to say we're going to do it tomorrow or next year, that's how big the problem is. It's enormous. That's the best way to describe it. Absolutely enormous.
Councilman, have we hit the low mark?
I think we have, but we're still seeing foreclosures. That's the problem. The banks and some mortgage companies are still embarking upon foreclosures, so it's going to be an ongoing issue and problem for us.
All right, so of course, not just here in the city of Cleveland, it's widespread across all these cities here in Northeast Ohio. But for now, let's check with my colleague, Joe Paganakis over at Lincoln West High School. Joe.
Well, hey there, Chris. Our students are very busy here at Lincoln West in the cafeteria, and one of the reasons why we've been able to get so many great volunteers on our Building Better Neighborhoods projects is because of great organizations like Rebuilding Together and Hands On Northeast Ohio. I'm with Elizabeth Semi-Day right now. She's one of the student volunteers here at Lincoln West. And Elizabeth, why is this so important for you and the other students here at your school?
I think that this is important for myself and other students here because we want to show the community that we are better than the stereotypical image of our school and that we want to make a change. And this is the perfect way that we want to show our community that the change is being made.
Well, you guys are doing a great job here today. Thank you very much for being on our program, Elizabeth. Great work today. Joining me now is Jeff Griffiths. He is with Hands On Northeast Ohio. Jeff, how can residents get involved and sign up to be a volunteer through your program?
Yeah. Any citizen in Northeast Ohio can come to handsonneo.org, come to a one-time orientation, and have access to a calendar of over 40-plus projects a month that are evenings and weekends with all sorts of issues and agencies so people can connect with what they're passionate about to community need and make a difference. And then we'll also support additional kind of citizen-led volunteerism. So individual citizens who want to make a difference can contact us at our office at 216-432-9390, and they then will support them in self-activating and trying to make a difference where they live.
Why is it so critical that residents get involved and not wait for government to get the job done? Why is that so important?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see it here, right? Volunteerism is powerful, and all of us have the civic responsibility to make where we live and work in our greater region stronger and better. And we have the power to do it, no matter what your age or where you live. And I think the Building Better Neighborhoods initiative is a powerful example of that.
All right, Jeff Griffiths, Hands On Northeast Ohio. You're part of our panel later on here at Lincoln West. Thanks for joining us. And by the way, the Building Better Neighborhoods initiative has just launched its own toolkit so that there is a lot of information on newsnet5.com where you can find out how you can volunteer in your neighborhood. It shows you how to mobilize your neighborhood, band together, create block clubs, and then identify problems in your neighborhood so you can make a difference. Now let's go to Danita Harris back in the studio.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Students doing a great job there at Lincoln West. We're going to go now to John Kosick. He is hosting a web chat on our website, newsnet5.com. And John, you have a financial expert with you tonight.
Yeah, we have Frank Ford from Neighborhood Services Incorporated here in Cleveland getting involved, answering some of the questions that you have out there. Many people who live in Cleveland, but many people in the inner ring suburbs are the ones that are most affected by this. People who don't think they're affected by this. Frank, what are the types of questions you get from folks coming in?
Well, they vary from what do I do about the vacant house next to me? What do I, there's a house going up for foreclosure. What can I do about it? Is there any way that I could try to buy it? There are questions about why isn't the city doing more? And, I think in some cases, people don't know what the city is doing. The city of Cleveland actually has really ramped up its efforts to go after particularly banks and investors coming in from out of state. So I think a lot of it is people are overwhelmed with what they see around them, and they may not even know that there's a lot going on that is making a difference.
All right, Frank Ford is here to answer your questions. Many of you have questions out there. This is your chance to get involved. The opportunity for you is right now here on NewsNet5.com. We're going to send it to a break. We'll be back, though, in 90 seconds.
We could not do it on our own. You couldn't do it on your own. The people in this community couldn't do it on their own. It's everybody coming together.
I'm Stephanie Ramirez. Our second Building Better Neighborhoods project was building the State Street Park right here in Paynesville. This was a unique project for Building Better Neighborhoods, which normally takes on the task of revitalizing homes and neighborhood streets. But here in Paynesville, kids went from dangerously playing in the streets to safely playing in a park built just for them.
The kids have been out here playing on it, and it's really been an instant success.
The city received the land after an old elementary school on the lot was torn down. And on September 21st, even that school's principal was there to lend a helping hand. More than 2 months later,
it's so nice to have the boys be able to go right across the street and play and meet with their friends, and it's just really what we needed.
Couldn't get any better. We've been blessed to have a baby, so it's nice. We're going to be right next door to the parks.
The city has also added things: a fence, benches, and trash receptacles.
Just adds so much community to the neighborhood where they're actually getting out and talking to their neighbors and everything.
It's a place for the entire neighborhood to enjoy. On your side in Paynesville, Stephanie Ramirez, News Channel 5.
Thank you, Stephanie, and I'm happy to say that I also put in a lot of sweat equity into that Paynesville project. Looks like I'm directing there, but really I got into the dirt, and it actually was a lot of fun. Well, as you just saw, Building Better Neighborhoods is not just an inner city problem. Every community has its share. Let's go back to Joe Paganakis right now. And Joe, I want to ask you, why is it important for people to know that there are things that they can do wherever they live to build a better neighborhood?
Well, Danita, the well-being of all our neighborhoods is interrelated through the tax base. If home values are dropping, that means there's less equity and less tax base. Plus, the latest stats show foreclosures are now growing in the outer ring suburbs. Take a look. A wonderful neighborhood in the city of Independence. Surely foreclosures and vacant homes couldn't be a problem here. But the latest figures from the Case Western Reserve University Center on Urban Poverty and Community Development show foreclosures in Independence over the past year are up 33%.
Even though things may look fine right now on their street, if they were to check the public records, they might find that some of the houses that look occupied are in fact in foreclosure.
Another seemingly foreclosure-immune neighborhood, this one in Bedford Heights. But foreclosures in 2012 are up 34% here. A study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland indicates that if a home on your street goes vacant, it will have an impact on what your home is worth, no matter how nice the neighborhood.
For every foreclosure within 500 feet of a house in a low-poverty suburb will yield a decrease in 4.6% of its value.
And foreclosures are expected to continue to spread to outer ring suburbs. 2012 foreclosures up 32% in Beechwood, 40% in Moreland Hills, 38% in Mayfield Heights and Mayfield Village, up 18% in Westlake. More foreclosures equal dropping property values, resulting in a shrinking tax base, which could create cuts in key city services.
There's going to be substantial loss in revenue, which will affect every suburban municipality in Cuyahoga County.
And so how can you make your neighborhood better? How can you make your community better and more vibrant? Well, this morning we launched our Building Better Neighborhoods Toolkit on newsnet5.com. It's one heck of a resource that is online right now to help you volunteer. It's packed with resources on how to organize your neighborhood, how to create a block club, select officers, set up neighborhood meetings, how to work with City Hall, your council members, and other lawmakers, how to identify key volunteer groups that can help your neighborhood with information and resources. Everything you need to get started to activate your community towards self-improvement. We're here at Lincoln West High School where we have student volunteers that are painting right now, but that's not the only thing going on right here at Lincoln West. We also have a live studio audience watching this broadcast where residents will be able to talk to experts, panelists that we have on hand to get information on how to deal with foreclosures, how to deal with vacant homes, and make their neighborhoods more economically vibrant. And joining me live now is Principal Maria Carlson. And Maria, talk about why volunteerism is so important at this school. I mean, our project certainly is not the only volunteer project that you have here.
That's correct. All of the students in Cleveland schools have to do 40 hours of community service, but we really stress to our students to go above and beyond that minimum requirement. We've painted pumpkins for hospice patients. They work in shelters, they work at the APL. Our students really do go above and beyond to give back to their community.
Thank you very much, Maria. We really appreciate it. Appreciate having us here at Lincoln West. And right now we have our live chat going on newsnet5.com. You can join by logging in. Our John Cossack is hosting that chat. It's ongoing until 9:30 tonight. Now let's go back to Danita Harris.
Thank you very much, Joe. Joining me now are representatives of 3 Northeast Ohio communities: Chris Warren, Cleveland's Chief of Regional Development; Maple Heights Mayor Jeffrey Lansky; and Elyria Mayor Holly Brenda. They are here tonight to talk about what you need to do to make officials in your community aware of problems in your neighborhood so you have a nice place to live. So I want to thank all of you for being here. And Chris, I want to start with you. What are some of the problems that are facing your citizens?
Well, first of all, let me applaud Channel 5 for what you're doing with building better neighborhoods. But some of the problems we face, as you've covered, are abandoned houses, particularly in neighborhoods hard hit by the predatory lending and the foreclosures that result from that. Other issues involve public safety questions, often tied to drug-related underground economy and violence that is spawned by that. Economic insecurity is an issue when people are facing the ability to can they keep their job? Can they get the training they need?
Well, Mayor Lansky, what is happening in Maple Heights? What are you hearing?
Well, we're actually seeing a type of a downturn with foreclosures. 4 years ago, we started off with a little over 1,200 abandoned foreclosed homes, and right now we're down with probably about 800-900 down, so we're around 300 or more. So, but we've really been aggressive in enforcing our building codes, and we've also been very lucky to receive over $1 million in NSP funds from the federal government that helped us tear down 200 of those homes. So in the days of when Wall Street was the culprit for giving people homes that had a credit score below 500 or with no money down, we've actually seen banks that have kind of walked away from the homes, and then we've had to get in and deal with them, and we've been able to do that successfully. We did have a house that actually blew up about a month ago due to a gas leak that we did not know was an empty home. And it was very lucky for us that no one was severely injured or killed in the blast, but there's still a few out there that we don't know about, but we're trying to stay on top of it the best we can. So we encourage people in neighborhoods to let us know if they see phone books piling up on the porch or mail piling up or grass growing high, and then we get out there right away and get after it.
Mayor Brenda and Elyria, what type of concerns are you hearing from your constituents?
Sure. Well, I think overall the citizens of Elyria are committed not to becoming victims of the economy, so we're trying to be as aggressive as possible, like so many other communities. You know, with the decline of the local government fund and the repeal of the estate tax, everybody's trying to do more with less, especially now. We're an older community founded in 1817, so we've got newer housing stock and lots of housing stock that was built at the turn of the century. So So we've got about 200 properties that can benefit from demolition. We're doing some things in terms of working with our neighborhood block watch groups to identify properties, first of all. We've got an aggressive NSP program, neighborhood stabilization program, federal funds through the federal government. We provide loans to residents who would like to do their own fixing up of their homes as well. And we have a new land bank in Lorain County, and we think it's an important tool. We, in the past, have had a passive land bank in the city, but we are using the $3 million coming through the Attorney General's settlement in Lorain County, and Elyria in particular, to be able to identify and demolish homes that have become problematic in some of our communities.
So here's the question a lot of people want the answer to. If I see a problem in my neighborhood, what do I do? Let's start with Maple Heights. What would a person do who lives in your city?
Well, they would either call the mayor's office. Usually I get the brunt of those calls, and sometimes they will call their city council member. And the first thing we do is send out our building inspectors to check the property out. If it needs to be secured, we'll send out our service department, which may then have to board it. And in some cases, if the house looks like it might be occupied or has been tampered with, we have a big issue with urban miners who come in and strip out the copper plumbing, the furnace, the air conditioning unit, take whatever it is that's valuable. So we mobilize our safety forces also, and the utilities, which are a little bit more stubborn in trying to get them out there right away and shutting off water, gas, electricity. And like I said, we encourage neighbors in that area to call us and let us know, which is also very helpful.
And in Cleveland, Chris, very briefly, because we want to get back to Mayor Brenda.
Very similar. Call our Mayor's Action Center, 664-2900, and that will direct you to the answers from whatever department the issue involves.
And Mayor Brenda?
Similar. You can call the mayor's office, contact your city council person, call our building department directly. Either any one of those avenues will get you to the proper channels.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here. Chris Warren with the City of Cleveland, Mayor Jeffrey Lansky of Maple Heights,
welcome,
and Mayor Holly Brenda of Elyria. It's all about people helping people. That's what this is all about. The Five on Your Side, Building Better Neighborhoods Special. We'll be right back.
When you help people like that, I mean, they never forget things like that. I mean, sometimes little things mean more than money these days in life.
And welcome back to our Building Better Neighborhoods special. I'm Chris Flanagan. We're live at the Eastman Library in the west side of Cleveland. Holding a great discussion here on folks trying to help their neighborhood, how to improve their neighborhood. Let's meet more of our panelists tonight. Gus Frangos from the Cuyahoga Land Bank joining us, as is Jim Rackauckas from Thriving Communities Institute, and also Tony Brancatelli from the Cleveland City Council. And Gus, the Land Bank, you acquire foreclosed homes, properties, tear them down and fix them up. What can you do in the suburbs, and what are you doing in the suburbs now?
We're doing an awful lot in the suburbs. I think one thing that people have realized and have seen is that this is no longer just an inner city problem. It has spread to the inner ring suburbs, and of course it has spread to the outer ring suburbs. And so what the Land Bank has been able to do, we've demolished about 1,200 homes in the 3 years we've been in existence, probably 40% of those in the suburbs. We have also had rehabbed a little over 500 properties, all private sector rehabs, and probably 60% of those have been in the outer ring suburbs as well as inner ring suburbs, and it has a huge stabilizing effect. We've also done an awful lot of urban gardens, community gardens, and enlisted the support and the engagement of the surrounding communities.
Okay, great work there. And Jim, I know you guys have raised a lot of money, not just here in Cleveland, but all over the state of Ohio.
Well, Thriving Communities has helped to set up 15 land banks around the state of Ohio to deal with these issues. It's not a Cleveland area only problem. But we've helped to secure over $120 million through the Attorney General in creating the Moving Ohio Forward program, money that came from the Robo signing settlement.
So what happens once you raise the money? Then where do we go from there?
Well, the real issue is what do you do after the property is taken down? That some would call a house that needs to come down blight, but an ugly vacant lot blight light, right? So we need to do better than that. And there are a lot of groups in this town and throughout the state that are working hard on how you reposition properties once these have been brought down.
Okay. Tony Brancatelli, Councilman, I've got a question here from a gal in the audience. A woman is in foreclosure. She owes more money than her home is worth. A question to you, the bank won't work with her. what else can she do now?
I would really suggest there's a number of outstanding community organizations that are out there that are working with individuals who are underwater, which is basically the scenario that you described. Go to organizations like Neighborhood Housing Services, Cleveland Housing Network. They can lend you a hand, sit down with a counselor, and talk about how you can work from getting underwater to really stabilizing your mortgage and getting out of foreclosure and stabilizing. The first thing I say is don't move, stay in your home, and work with one of these free counselors. Don't pay for it. Work with the counselors who are very professional, like Neighborhood Housing Services and Cleveland Housing Network.
And you said free?
Free, absolutely free.
Okay, good to know. Okay,
yes.
Tony, thanks, appreciate it. And you know, we've done projects all over Northeast Ohio. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to help out in the city of Elyria a few months ago. Take a look as we helped clean up the neighborhoods there. Fanny Hill has lived on South Maple Street for nearly 40 years.
I used to be ashamed to tell people where I lived there for a while because it got so bad, you know.
But it's looking good now, thanks to the volunteers who helped fix and paint her fence.
I'm very grateful for it because the fence kept falling down. Every time a good gust of wind goes by, it falls down. I didn't have anybody to fix it for me. And they came in and fixed it up real good.
Her neighbor, Sarah Barnes, has lived on the street her entire life.
It's always been a nice neighborhood.
An army of volunteers helped mulch her garden bed, paint a neighbor's porch, and plant a community garden. A garden that sprung to life on an empty lot where a vacant house once stood.
It gives people an incentive to do more, I think, to their own property, to make it look better, to at least make it look neat.
Nearby, American flags lined Gates Avenue. Crews trimmed trees, built new stairs, gave a garage a fresh coat of paint, and planted a flower bed for Lisa Toothman.
Sometimes you look at things and it's like it could just be so much better, but you don't have the funds to do it. You know, and for someone to come in and do it, it was really good. It was great.
Yeah, it certainly was, and that was such a wonderful community effort. More than 100 folks showing up to help out spruce up those neighborhoods there in Elyria. I know we had a lot of great people out there. I really appreciate being out there. But there's much more coming up. We're live at the Eastman Lake Library, Eastman Library in the west side of Cleveland. Much more to come, including our panelists. We're back in a moment, and our Building Better Neighborhoods special continues after this.
I think it's absolutely wonderful that people go out and take charge of things and make it their own and own the neighborhood that they're in. I think that's the absolute best way to accomplish anything if you can do it.
There are things happening on both the state and federal levels to help build better neighborhoods. Recently, Joe Paganakis talked with U.S. Representative Marcia Fudge about that via satellite from Washington, D.C.
Congresswoman Fudge, thanks for being with us. We know that you've spent some considerable time trying to draft legislation to free up federal funding for all-important demolitions in Northeast Ohio. Tell us how the money would be generated if this measure became law.
Well, we have a number of ways that the money would be generated, but primarily through bonds. And what we would do is put in place enough resources to at least tear down most of the major blighted areas in communities across this country. It would not cost the federal government any money. The funds would be repaid to the federal government, and so it is something that is not going to impact upon our budget at all.
This is a significant measure. They're hoping to raise anywhere from $2 to $3 billion. Hopefully a decent portion of that money could come to Northeast Ohio.
No question about it, because if you recall, in the House, this was passed unanimously. So I don't think I'm going to have a real problem getting someone to help me co-sponsor it.
If this bill becomes law, how can residents, lawmakers, community leaders sign up for these funds to take down these terrible abandoned homes?
There'll be grants that will be given to communities, and then the resources will have to be allocated based upon formulas that are done by the local communities. So at this point, I don't really have an answer to that, with the exception of saying, once the funds are allocated, we will make sure that there is education about the project. We will make sure that people have access to the information so that they can then take the appropriate steps to get the resources. So it may not be necessarily individual homeowners requesting requesting the funding. It will be more communities making the request for the funding.
Cuyahoga Land Bank estimates about 30,000 structures, houses, buildings that need to come down in Northeast Ohio. How will taking down all of these abandoned, blighted structures help neighborhoods in Cleveland and throughout Northeast Ohio?
Well, certainly the first thing is going to be a safety factor. You don't have these vacant houses where crimes are committed on a daily basis. Secondly, I think what we could do is increase the amount of green space in our communities by making some of these areas parks and or just open space for people to use, for kids to play. Thirdly, it will increase the value of their properties. And lastly, it gives pride back to a neighborhood.
Congresswoman Fudge, thanks for being with us right here on Building Better Neighborhoods Town Hall meeting.
And joining me now to continue the conversation, State Representative Bill Patman of Cleveland. And Representative Patman, I have to ask you, what is being done on the state level to deal with these abandoned homes, not just here in Northeast Ohio, but across the state?
But first of all, let me say thank you to Channel 5 for your commitment to the neighborhoods of the city of Cleveland. But what we're doing is, for instance, we have one bill that just passed that actually starts to prevent the scrap being pulled out of houses. You now have to take a picture if you're going to sell scrap as of January 1st. That's a state-sponsored bill. The state has also allocated to my district $500,000 to rehab some of these houses because they're in certain neighborhoods, they're so large that you can't actually use the market to do it. So we have 3 or 4 going now, and that money is being spent, and we have a $750,000 allocation for the East Side market, because when you have a neighborhood that has services, people want to live there. That brings about demand. That raises the level of the house's worth. Some of the best houses in this whole state are in the city of Cleveland.
Now, when we talk about Northeast Ohio, we're talking about tens of thousands of abandoned homes. Is this a message that you are hearing clearly from people, the frustration? And if you are hearing it, what do you say to the people?
Actually, I say that we've been through this before. This is a city that went through default. This is a city that was on its knees, and it came back. We can do that again, but we have to work together, and we have to care about each other and care about our houses and our neighborhoods. And they buy into that, and because they've seen it done before, and they know we can do it again.
Do you believe Governor John Kasich is on board with solving this problem in his legislature?
Absolutely. That when I got this money from my district, I lobbied the governor and the chairman of finance and the speaker of the House. They were responsive. The chairman of finance actually came out to my neighborhood and visited personally because I wanted to show him what we were asking and why we were asking. And he was very gracious in what they did this first time around, but we're about to go into budget negotiations again, and I expect to do better.
What role do you think State Attorney General Mike DeWine should play?
Actually, to enforce some of the things that we put on the books, like the scrap law, to make sure that Cleveland doesn't fall victim to scrappers. You can see them every day, but that's going to stop as January 1. And what happens is when you pull all the assets out of a house, the copper wiring, the piping, then the house then is in shape for demolition and not rehab. And we'd really like to grow Cleveland rather than just knock it down.
I agree. Well, thank you, Representative Patman, for being with us this evening. We appreciate your time. And now let's take a look back at another neighborhood project that took place in October. News Channel 5's Bob Jones shows us the improvements done in Akron.
Another example of building better neighborhoods took place here at Shadyside Park in Akron. Kids on a Christian mission did all sorts of volunteer and cleanup work, including painting this entire 15-year-old gazebo, which is dedicated to Kenmore veterans. Here's the finished product, a fresh coat of white paint on a very meaningful structure where several Kenmore events take place throughout the year. The folks who live or work here truly appreciate the kids who spruced up the gazebo. Bob Russell works at Smith's House Carpet across the street.
It's nice, you know, I mean, it's a big area. I mean, a lot of things go on there during the summer and everything. And, you know, it's nice to keep it cleaned up. It's like Christmas time to even put up Christmas lights, not the kids, adults.
As part of the big day of serving, the kids also scraped and painted a large city-owned canal boat near Summit Lake.
It was the little things that they went in there and they saw what it looked like before, and they saw the before and after. It's like a before and after picture. When they saw the end results at the end of the day, they knew they had a successful day.
The kids also mulched several Akron parks and community centers. The work, done mostly by young youngsters who live outside of Akron serves as an inspiration to others who want to build better neighborhoods.
It gets that individual neighborhood enthused too.
On your side in Akron, Bob Jones, News Channel 5.
When we come back, more questions and answers to help you make your neighborhood a better place to live.
It's good to see a station come out, and not just in the Cleveland area, but come out into the urbs, you know what I mean, of a small town of Elyria, you know what I mean?
Welcome back to our Building Better Neighborhoods special. My co-anchor Chris Flanagan's been hanging out at the Eastman Branch Library. And Chris, what types of questions are you hearing? What are some of the main concerns for people there?
Well, you know, Danita, we've got some great questions tonight. A lot of people concerned about, you know, blight in their neighborhood and what they can do with some of these foreclosed properties. Tanya Holmes from Cleveland has a question here. She's been in the audience tonight for this question directed to Jim Rackauckas from Thriving Communities Institute. Tanya, what's your question?
The question is, I've recently been looking up parcel numbers, and I've noticed that there's a lot of back taxes. How are we getting that extra money for the city?
Jim, what do you say?
Well, when I was treasurer, and I'm not treasurer anymore, we were selling tax liens for about 10 years. I know the county has reinstituted tax lien sales. I also know that on vacant and delinquent properties that are tax delinquent, they're starting to foreclose and move those directly into the land bank through House Bill 294.
Okay. And joining us now is Judge Ray Pianka from the Cleveland Housing Court. Judge, great to have you tonight.
Glad to be here.
The Housing Court, how many judges sit on
Well,
the
there's
Housing
just
Court?
one judge on the Housing Court, and that would be me.
How busy is your docket?
Well, we're extremely busy. We have thousands of cases, about 18,000 cases a year come through the Housing Court, civil and criminal cases, code enforcement cases, those type of things.
Judge, what's it like when somebody comes before you? You know, many of them probably assume their life is in shambles at that point.
Well, yes. In fact, many people have hit a low point, and they're shocked to find that they're summoned as defendants in the Housing Court, and they lost the property. They thought they lost the property, filed bankruptcy, only to find out they're still the owners, and the city's looking at them for demolition costs. And so as a problem-solving court, we work on those problems, try to get the bank to release the lien and move that property on.
Okay. Judge, appreciate it. Thank you. Kathy Rossner here from Cleveland. You have a question for Councilman Brancatelli. What is it?
It seems that the traditional planning practices and approaches to community development are really not sufficient to deal with the crisis that we're facing in housing and in community development. Are there any new ideas that are coming forward to address these issues differently and to rebuild the city in a less traditional way?
Councilman.
Absolutely. I think we've been very innovative this year. This year we started with the administration and city council. We put together the vacant property unit. We were going through and inspecting all the vacant properties and condemning those that need to be condemned. That's nearly 5,000 properties this year, and we're going to be aggressively taking those properties down and really trying to clear up and make it a much cleaner atmosphere.
Okay, Councilman, appreciate it. Thank you for everybody who came out here tonight at the library. Great discussion, a lot of great questions and answers as well. Let's go back to the studio now in Danita.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. I'm going to check in now with John Kosick. He's talking with financial experts during our web chat that's going on right now on Newsnet5.com. And John, what seems to be the overriding theme, if you will, to the types of questions you're receiving?
Danita, to a certain extent, frustration over abandoned homes in certain neighborhoods, certain cities. Who do I turn to get help? We got our web chat going on Newsnet5.com. We're joined now by Mayor Lansky of Maple Heights and Mayor Brenda of Elyria. They are joining Frank Ford, the Senior Vice President of Neighborhood Progress. And Frank, we just heard Judge Pianka out on location talking about, you know, one of the things that we're seeing in some of the questions is a frustration with the banks. But the banks aren't necessarily taking over these properties anymore because they don't want them on their books.
Yeah, that started a couple years ago, that as banks started to realize the volume of vacant property and the deterioration, and that they might be held responsible for that if they take title. So now what some of them are doing is emptying out the house, going to get their judgment in court, but then not proceeding to take the title at sheriff's sale. And people refer to it as a bank walk away. There is one judge who's got a novel, one common police court judge who has a novel approach, Nancy Russo. She's finding the banks in contempt of court if they don't take the property to sheriff's sale. We have about 30 common police court judges. I would love to see the other 29 pick up on that process. I think that could make a huge difference.
And this is something, yeah, obviously, it's a playbook they're developing as they go along.
It's just working it through. There isn't any real specific state law that says you can do it. There isn't a state law that says they can't do it. Judges have some significant power to control what comes before them in their court. And the way I look at it is, the banks come into our city, they want the privilege of using our court system, empty out the homes, but then they don't want to take title to the property and be responsible for the abandoned property. I would say, if you want the right to come in and use our court system, and you should take responsibility and go all the way with it.
All right, Frank Ford from, thank you very much. Appreciate that from Neighborhood Progress. We want to send it back to Danita. The web chat's still going. If you got questions, fire them away.
All right, thank you very much, John. And we'll be back with more of our Building Better Neighborhoods special.
The weekend that we put the picnic tables out, we put them out on a Friday, and there were people picnicking on a Saturday. So the neighborhood is really coming out and enjoying it.
One of the Target Building Better Neighborhoods projects was right here in the community surrounding Lincoln West High School. So let's check back to see if the momentum in this neighborhood continues.
7 weeks ago, West 30th and Meyer Avenue, Lincoln West High School across the street. More than 100 students and residents get to work. Building Better Neighborhoods volunteers led by News Channel 5 anchor Chris Flanagan, Rebuilding Together, and the Stockyard Clark Fulton Community Development Office clear weeds, tall grass, debris, and install new landscaping provided by Petiti Garden Centers. And today, evidence of the effort still stands and has sparked additional development in surrounding neighborhoods.
There's been a huge number of demolitions throughout the ward. We're working hard to redevelop vacant properties, and most importantly, the community involvement has been huge.
Cleveland Councilman Brian Cummins confirms Building Better Neighborhoods has increased the number of residents requesting information on how they can get involved in their communities.
Absolutely, it's helped. And of course, it's generated some calls, thank you. It's generated calls, of course, from other properties. I mean, you know, we have a heck of a challenge in front of us.
And West 30th resident Rosemarie Forentino says the Building Better Neighborhoods project is a good start.
So many houses needed to be torn down. There's a second house from the corner that still needs to go. If maybe you can help with that.
Yeah, we do have a way to go yet, don't we?
Yeah. But on the whole, it's improved.
And we're here live once again from the Lincoln West Auditorium, where you can see this live audience behind me here. And they are pretty charged up after watching the entire program here on the big screen at Lincoln West. Let me first introduce our panel, our distinguished panel that's joining us here today. They will be taking the questions. First up is Councilman Jeff Johnson with the City of Cleveland. He's from the Glenville neighborhood. Judith Lozada, she's the volunteer manager with the Cleveland Schools. Jeff Griffiths, hands-on, Northeast Ohio, excellent organization. Mark Seifert, executive director with ESOP, helping people deal with foreclosures. Also, Paul Holm, executive director with Rebuilding Together. We've done a lot of projects with them. Cleveland Councilman Brian Cummins here with us. Greg Barron, Stockyard Clark Fulton Development Office, and Anthony Body, he's with the Famicos Foundation. He's a community organizer. We welcome this entire panel here today to take the questions. All right, we have our first question here behind us, and go ahead and identify who you are, where you live, and who you are addressing this question to.
My name is Rebecca Kempton, and I live in the Clark Fulton neighborhood, and my question is to Councilman Brian Cummings. So in every neighborhood, the life of the city and neighborhood is the residents. And the city of Cleveland is becoming a very, very costly city to live in, with paying for trash and paying additional property taxes. So I'd like to know what City Council role is going to be in stopping the flight out of the city and keeping people living in the city now that it's becoming very costly.
Thanks for that question, Rebecca. And actually, you know, when it comes to some of the fees, like the waste fee, you know, we're looking at an impervious fee from the sewer district. You know, first of all, the waste fee is a good example. We need to, first of all, make the waste fee more equitable. You know, we've done fees in recent years because we have such a tough issue with the economy and revenue in that. But I think overall, you know, you hit it, and you know that with your efforts within the neighborhood, the neighbors are really made up of the residents themselves. And if they can't band together, if we can't engage the community, we're not going to be as successful. We represent the community, but we absolutely need the community's assistance. And I think, you know, what we're doing, at least in our community, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues are trying to do the same thing, is to actually draw attention to the public and let them know that we need their help in setting priorities, in improving particularly the physical characteristics. It's tough enough when the economy's bad and the bills are tight, but when you're living in an area that's blighted with vacant homes next to you, et cetera, you know, and we've been spending, as you know, we've been spending the last couple of years on just trying to get things cleaned up.
Councilman Cummins here, and we are going to continue the discussion right here at Lincoln West Auditorium with our live audience. We also have our ongoing live web chat on newsnet5.com. So back to the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. And we hope that during the last hour, we've inspired you to get involved in your neighborhood, wherever you live. Remember, volunteers can make a difference. You can help to make your neighborhood cleaner and safer just by taking a stand. Our newsnet5.com web chat continues for another half hour. And if you want to report a vacant or nuisance in your home, in your neighborhood, just email us. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
This has been a great collaboration. Because of News Channel 5, we've been able to reach out and pull different volunteers in.
It's great for the city, for the neighborhood.
A good feeling to give back to the community.
This is good that someone is actually helping out. So this is amazing.
It's all about, you know, coming together, working together, making it happen.